All of a sudden, this guy starts speaking in the middle of the crowd, and everyone keeps quiet. So I know he's the leader, and he walks up, and this guy, you see his eyes, man. He's ready, and he's saying, "Oh, you fought guys last night. We're coming here to settle things right now." And first he's trying to say, "Come with us right now. We're going to the parking lot," but we don't want to move out of the elevator. So first he's trying to kind of kidnap us, you know. And we're staying back. We're saying we're not going anywhere. Let's discuss whatever. But this guy says, "Okay, you don't want to come right now, then we're gonna handle it right now." And he takes out a machete from his pants. He pulls things out and he's saying, "Okay, right now we're gonna handle this." And dude, this guy's about to start swinging this machete, man. And I'm thinking about that death I'm feeling. And now this guy with the machete, and I'm thinking, man, there's no way we're gonna escape. There's no way we're gonna escape this. And I was so scared to die because I thought, dude, I know what I've done in my life. And I thought, man, it's almost like blood for blood. You know it's gonna come one day, and this is your day.
Welcome back to the Invest in Yourself podcast. Today I'm joined by former Chinese Mafia member Choby Siau. Choby joined a local Triad gang when he was a teenager. He worked his way up to being a leader in his gang. At that point, he was given a job to give out orders and recruit new members. Choby was involved in a lot of crime, and he was lucky to never go to prison. Choby ended up having a couple close calls on his life, and he knew it was time to make a major change. He turned his life to God, and you will learn why he did this. Please subscribe to my channel for more interviews like this, and without further ado, let's get into Choby's story. Good morning, Choby. Thank you for coming on my show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Good morning.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you reached back out and you want to come on because you got a really good redemption story. You were involved with a lot of different things growing up and eventually changed your life around, man. And I think that these stories need to be out there and heard. So let's go into yours, man. Let's hear about your early life and what it was like growing up.
Yeah, early life and growing up. So I came from a mixed family. So my background is my father, he's Singapore Chinese from Southeast Asia, and very, very traditional family lifestyle, very traditional lifestyle. And my mother, she's from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, bloodline's pure Polish. So came from a very blended family. And yeah, I mean, it was I knew that I was different very early on because when I was in the States, I can recognize my cousins are white,
Right.
and there's certain things that I followed that I can just tell there was a difference.
Yeah,
and
sure.
when I would go to Asia, it's the same thing. They can tell, even though I look Asian to a lot of people in the Western world, they can tell. Asian people can tell, okay, this guy's mixed right here.
Just more light-skinned, I suppose.
Yeah, light skin and maybe a little bit of the bone structure or whatever. So as a young kid, man, okay, you're not fitting in exactly in the box right here.
Yeah.
So my dad, he's in Chinese culture, we're not super close in a nurturing perspective or with our father. So it's very like about roles and about the do's and don'ts and what is society acceptable in the Chinese culture,
Yeah.
And so there was not a lot of coaching growing up. It was like, this is what you do, this is what you don't do. And in Chinese culture too, they're quite aggressive, and so being raised under my father, he's very aggressive, very heavy-handed. So like they knew that I had a problem in school growing up because I couldn't pick up what all the kids were learning. So very early on, they recognized that I had a learning disability.
What were some of the disabilities?
Yeah, disabilities was like, I wasn't able to read. So when I look at a paper, the words don't make sense to me. My mind wasn't able to pick it up. So, and we have very rigid academic structure in Asia. We prioritize education very, very highly. So we have great education systems, but they knew that this guy right here, man, he can't read. So I was dyslexic, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I couldn't read, I couldn't write. Math was terrible. Um, and also I had a real bad speech impediment. So I hated talking in front of people. I mean, it's a pure miracle right now that I can talk the way I'm talking, because I had such fear and I was traumatized growing up from speaking. Right. So I knew education was going to be a tough road for me to walk down. And because of my parents' work, my parents are involved in the ministry. You know, they're Christians. They're involved in ministry, so they traveled quite a bit. So at 11, we went from Asia. We went to New Zealand, and we went to a place in South Auckland. In South Auckland, you know, people think about New Zealand as all paradise, but in South Auckland, it's really the hood. And I never knew about real gang life until I went there at 11 years old. You know,
Pretty
and
heavy, pretty
pretty
strong,
heavy.
active.
Yeah, pretty heavy. And there's a lot of Polynesian islanders there. You got the Samoans, the Tongans, the Fijians, you know, the Maoris. And in my school, I mean, there was not many Asian people back then. So when I went to school, I was like just wanting to try and make friends, you know. But I remember the first day I go to my class, and everything is new to me. The culture is new to me. I gotta wear these crazy uniforms with high socks,
Yeah.
and that was kind of like what you had to do in public school. But I remember going to my class, and the teacher introduced me to the class and said, "Guys, this is a new kid here. You know, he came from out of the country." And right away, people start pointing their eyes, pointing their fingers to their eyes, and they're saying, "Oh, gook chink." They were saying
Gee,
words I never heard before. I didn't even know what those meant. In
that's
fact,
terrible.
I knew it wasn't good because of their reaction. But in fact, the kid next to me explained to me, "Do you know what a gook is?" And I thought, man, this is gonna be. I'm like, man, walking to a hellhole. And already, I had a hard time with education because in Asia, you know, the teachers they would really criticize me, and they were allowed to beat you back then. Okay,
Damn.
it was just part of normal society if you weren't able to level up to academic achievement.
You look pretty young still too. How long
Yeah,
ago was that?
man,
Like
yeah, that was a long time ago, man. I was 11. Right now, I'm 36.
oh, okay, so 20
Yeah,
years ago. Yeah, so I mean,
years
over
ago.
there is probably a lot different, I suppose, in Asia too. I mean,
Yeah,
the rules and everything. Because I remember, hearing stories about a lot of older people here in America getting beat in class and
yeah,
stuff or
yeah,
whatnot. But I mean, yeah,
yeah.
over there probably different, completely different.
Exactly. Like my mom would talk about over here. She went to Polish Catholic school, you know, and the nuns would get her.
Jeez.
So it was almost like that kind of time era, you know, even though it's a different year, but at the same time, sometimes different countries are trapped in different, like almost like stages of their
Yeah,
process, you know.
it's true. Well, how did that make you feel then? I suppose
Man,
with
it made me feel terrible. It made me feel really insignificant and really hopeless in life, you know, because I was scared to go back home because I was scared of my father. I couldn't communicate because of my speech impediment. I felt like I had no friends. And here I'm criticized about how I look. Not only was I criticized in my life about how my mental process was, I felt like even the way I'm being judged. And that was hard, man.
right, yeah, I'm sure
You
as a
know?
11-year-old, and that's terrible to feel. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? You're supposed to go to school and learn and not get picked on and all that, man.
exactly, man. And that's when I really saw the cruelty of humanity, you know. And to be honest, at that point, I had a soft heart. I really had a soft heart, and but when that happened, it really crushed me. And my younger brother's 4 years younger than me, and he was in the same school. And there was a group there that they started beating him up, you know. So it got to a point that I thought, man, I know how it feels to be victimized. And no one's taking care of me. So I told my younger brother, this happens again, you gotta let me know. And at that moment, it was probably the biggest risk in my life because I thought I'm gonna step up I knew I had the option to keep quiet and be stomped out, or I can do something. And no one taught me to say, no one said to me, you got to stand up. No one said to me, like you have to fight. It was, for me, I was pushed in a complete corner and I felt like there's no way out. And I wasn't a fighter. I was just this kid just trying to make friends and got nothing.
Right.
So when I told my brother that, the next day he got he got beat up, in recess. So I went to find that guy in the middle of recess, and they played rugby over there, and I remember chasing this guy down the rugby field, man, and just started just hitting him as hard as I could. And when that fight got broken up, I remember I said to myself, I'm gonna find that guy for school, because I knew that he was part of this little crew. So I went over there and talked to him. I said, "Listen, man, we're gonna have problems every single day,
Damn.
and or we're gonna stop this racist stuff, whatever." And they stopped. And what happened was, with those guys, we became friends, and we actually formed a little gang. And that was the first time. That's the first time I felt that I can control a situation physically, and that was the first time I felt any kind of control in my life. And so, anyways, we lasted in New Zealand for about 18 months, and I was very exposed. Like I said, like in that place, they had Mongrel Mob, they had Hell's Angels, they had what they called FCMS, FMS, OCS, NGs, like all these gangs, that we just knew about growing up. So it was like thrown into the piranhas pond, man, very quickly, and you're learning about all this. So that survival mode, I brought that to Malaysia. My parents ended up moving to Malaysia when I was just before I turned 13. And Malaysia is very close to Singapore. In fact, they're kind of almost the same. Singapore used to be part of Malaysia, so we have a lot of the same races there. Foods, we have ethnic groups, cultural celebrations. And I have my grandfather migrated from Malaysia also into Singapore, so I've relatives also in Malaysia. So when we moved there, it was a place that was very much more familiar to me, and I felt a lot more comfortable in that place. And I lived on an island called Penang. And Penang, they have maybe about 2 million people, maybe 2.5, maybe it's at 3 mil right now. So it's a city in an island, and it's mostly Chinese dominated. So like people like me, we pretty much a majority of our city is Chinese. And then we have Malay, and we have also Indian people. But I have an older brother also, he got involved with the local triad there. And I heard about it, but I didn't believe that he was involved in a gang, because when you go there, you look around, I reverted gang life like I saw in New Zealand, and they also revert a lot back to the Western style of street gangs,
Mm-hmm.
with colors. They're kind of more loud in different ways. But here in Malaysia, you look around, you don't see signs of what I was used to. So when I heard he was part of a gang, I didn't believe it until I got into a fight. I got a fight in school, and it was a Friday, and I had a one-on-one fight. But before I had a one-on-one fight, these cars come to my school. They roll up into my school, and I'm only in middle school here. So I'm seeing these cars come up, and these guys come out, and these guys said to come to the crowd. They say, "We're looking for Joel's brother." My older brother's name is Joel, and I didn't know if I should answer or not. But I said that's me, and they said okay. They said, "Well, we're with your brother, and he told us about this fight you're about to have, and we're just coming here to make sure like that everything's under control." They said, don't worry about nothing. Just handle your thing. That would come talk to you.
Wow.
So fight this guy, and this guy comes back up, and he says, we're local here. This is the name of us, and we want you to join. And in my mind, I already knew I was gonna join because from 11 in New Zealand, I really thought to myself, I'm gonna be a gangster. I really thought that's gonna be my goal in life.
At that young of an age, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm supposing because you were formed your own little gang with the guy that
exactly,
you got in a fight with,
exactly.
and you got to see the brotherhood and stuff. Kind of,
Yeah,
after not experiencing that for so long. I mean, some kind of form of protection or something. So
exactly. Because like I never felt protected. That's why I protected my brother in a physical way because I didn't want him to feel unprotected.
yeah,
You
and I
know?
mean that seemed to be the only way that really worked at that time that you could think of. I mean, and it,
Yeah,
it stopped them from picking on you. I mean, I suppose, and you ended up becoming
yeah,
friends with them, but
yeah.
I don't know what. But, I mean, eventually you like you said, you kind of got into this fight as well. So I mean, what was this fight over? Was it just same thing? These guys were giving you crap.
No, it was over a girl, just over some stupid stuff, you
Oh,
know. Yeah, he called my girl, bitch, and I said,
oh,
then we're gonna one on one about it, It's so over stupid stuff, but that led into a recruitment now.
yeah, it did.
Yeah,
So
so
I'll go ahead.
I told the guy, I said, listen, you gotta come back in a week, and I'll let you know my answer. So like a week comes by, and I'm walking home from school, and the car pulls up. This car pulls up, and that guy says to me, he rolls down his window, and he says, "I came back. It's been a week now. What do you want to do? You want to join?" And I said, "Okay, I'll join." So right when I said I'll join, he handed me a piece of paper, and he said, "You got to fill out this information here." And immediately, man, I started freaking out.
Okay,
I'm barely 13 because I'm sorry because he wants you to fill out like my passport information, all my address, my all this people. Something. Why am I gonna fill this out to join a gang?
strange.
Yeah. So I thought, man, I know this is something serious here. You know.
So what'd you do?
Yeah, I filled it out.
You ended up
There's
filling it
no
out.
turning back. There's no turning back. And
Yeah,
I thought my older brother did it. He had to do it to join. So I'll give them my information. But I knew that was very different. I never heard of that kind of thing before.
What do you think? Why do you think they did that?
Because they register you into their office.
Oh, they
Yeah.
even got a office
Yeah,
for
they
it
have
too.
offices. Yeah. So I thought I'm joining a street gang, but I didn't realize it was a Chinese triad. It's organized crime.
Yeah, that's a big difference from just a street gang.
Yeah,
More
exactly,
serious.
exactly. So I didn't realize that was normal for them to do that. So
What did that lead into next then?
so they said um they said they'll contact me. So shortly after that, I didn't realize that at that time, at my time, at eighth grade, they start the recruitment quite heavily into the city that I'm in. So they contacted me and they said to me, "Hey, you're gonna meet up with us." They gave a certain date at a restaurant, and so they told me what bus to catch, this local bus down by my house. And I was gonna meet them at a restaurant. At the bus stop. When I went to the bus stop, I see a bunch of other kids like my age, rolling by the bus stop.
Hmm.
And I don't know what they were doing, but I could overhear them speaking, and they're going to the same restaurant that I'm going to. I started talking to them, and they say, "Oh, you going to such and such restaurant?" I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Are you going to go meet this person?" I said, "Yeah." Then they said, "Okay, who are you under?" So they always say, so the triads, they'll say who you first. First, they'll ask you what group you're with. That's the first thing. Then they'll ask you who you under, who's your tailo, who's your head, because everyone's a head. And I said, "Okay, this is my head right here. This is my tailo." They said, "Okay, we know who he is." So they were also new recruits. And here we were going to the same place. So I got to meet my same rank guys, you know, at that bus stop, in the bus on the way to this restaurant. And we go to this restaurant, and they're sitting down with. I mean, you ever see those Chinese movies? All the round tables,
Yeah.
Got big round tables, and then our guys who are older than us are all sitting there. They got Chinese tea, they got some meals out there, and they start to talk to us about the laws. This is what we're about. If you're in this area, this is who you call. They start breaking down the order. And then I start thinking, man, that really enticed me. I like the structure of it, and I like the organization of it. And I saw, man, these guys have their things intact. And even at a very young age, there was some kind of like, I saw this was bigger than me, and there was a few other schools that we had some rivals in. And I realized that if we found people with potential, we could start to recruit. So we see people that we think, okay, man, they can fight, they can do this, they can maybe give us a good name. We can start bringing them in. So I decided that there was one school that would kind of pick on my school, but my school wasn't doing anything about it. So I decided to, and there was a Malay gang there, quite big mafia. They call them Three Line, and they were known for kind of taunting our school, but we wouldn't do anything about it. But I was a new kid there, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna start bringing it to them now. So I led a gang fight to that school, brought weapons and all that, and that school reported it back to my school. And so at 13 years old, I got kicked out, So that was that. So I never made it to the 9th grade. I never made it. It was a middle of 8th grade. Got kicked out of school, and that was it. But to me, it didn't matter because I thought, I can't study anyways. I'm dyslexic. I can't even read. I knew I could fight, and I knew that I was good with people. I knew I could talk to people, and my leader at that time, he said to me, Choby, because you're out of school now, right? I was in a very unique position because they actually promote school and education.
The Triads?
They promote it. They want many of them finish university.
Really?
Yeah. And they have two groups. They call a Kwaikia group and a Paikia group. So like in the Triad, they have ones that their focus is only study. And the other ones right here are the ones that are choosing a lifestyle that is more of the aggressive gangster style, right? So you're starting out like you're just like the fighting group, and we protect the study group. And I got friends that they even paid their way to university. They try to pay them through university. Yeah.
Damn, yeah. Man. So they really push the education.
They push education because the Triad is made up of, I won't go into too much detail, but they're made up of, the low level crime guys, right? The everyday, the drug stuff, the credit card frauds, but then they have people in very high positions, right? With very notable titles that they're not gangsters, but they're full-fledged Triad members. And they all work together. It's a secret society, a secret society. So because I was in this unique position that at the main recruiting age, I already got kicked out. So my Thilo said, Choby, you're all the guys in the school I'm putting under you now. That means a lot of guys that are older than me were going to go under me, and I had to go to every single one of their issues in these different schools. And the schools are very important for them because recruitment starts at a very young age. There's about 7 to 8 main triads that are active right now in my city. Okay, so they're fighting for recruitment. And every part of my island is divided up into triad territory. Every single part. So I had ranking at a very young age, and I was under my lead. So because I was out of school, I was hanging out with my leader a lot, and he's teaching me, this is the way you should go about things. This is the way you need to think about certain situations. You know, this is the way how you squash problems, because a lot of things over there is also with negotiation with other groups. You know, it's like a lot of most of the time there's not like attacking rivals on site, because they've been there for so many generations. They've worked. They're so embedded in society. They work with each other.
They
So
have like sit downs and stuff.
a lot of sit downs. Yeah, we will sit down. Yeah, we will sit down over meals and try to figure out. Okay, this is how you guys breach, and this is how we're gonna settle it. You know, and so there are people that just deal with just negotiation side. So like, um, I had to be trained with my leader. You know, so every day I'm with him in about like how to handle situations, you know, learning who the other guys are, building relationship with them, and then also enforcing the guys that are coming in, right? Because now the new recruits, they gotta come to me, right? Now they're filling it. Now I'm passing the paperwork out to them.
So
You know?
essentially, it gave you, being expelled from school, or did having its own opportunity in itself with, the triads, and, you becoming this guy's right hand man. And
Mhm.
this, I suppose, this, I mean, what was your title at that time? I mean, when he promoted you up, because you
Yeah,
became like a,
yeah.
kind of
I'm also a Tylo.
title almost,
I'm
or you
also, yeah, yeah. I'm also a Tylo to
oh,
them.
okay.
Yeah.
So how did the older guys feel about you being, their Tylo, is that how you say it?
Yeah, the older guys. Well, they couldn't say too much. You know, in the very beginning, they're questioning too. They're questioning, but you know, you gotta step up to the plate. And one thing that's very important that I realized, right, is even with the guys who are older than me, right, I had to build good relationship with them, you know, in a way that like, you know, like you have to somehow in a way get them to trust you also,
Oh, I'm sure.
you know.
Yeah.
So establishing that good relationship was very, very important.
So
Not like something that's like you're dominant, but in a way that you know you have to be able to let them know that your leader made the right decision. Because if they question it, if they bring it to the leader too and say, "Man, Choby's doing all this. He's too young, whatever." You know, you don't want them to jeopardize that. So winning their trust was very, very important.
yeah, no, I would imagine so. So after you got expelled from school and you started becoming higher up in this,
Hmm.
with the triads, were your parents aware? Did they know anything
Yeah,
about what was going on?
they were aware, but at that point, you know, um, they kind of feel like they lost me, because they would find. I remember coming home and they would find weapons. They bring all these weapons out under my bed, and you know, rolls of money and so that they're trying to figure out what the heck is all this about. You
What was
know,
your explanation when
I just said it's all gang stuff, and they knew about it.
the
You
hell?
know, and when I got kicked out of school, I told myself I'm not going to deny this to my family. This is the road I choose. You know, and so they knew all about that. My dad, you know, like because he was at that time he struggled with anger big time. You know, and you know we got into a big fight when I was about 16, 17, got into a big fight. And yeah, man, we were just like really punching each other up. And I remember like after that day happened, you know, he really tried to reach out to me. I think he knew he lost it. And you know, at 16 we started to build a relationship after that huge conflict that we had. And he started to really break down the walls, you know, of like what it looks like to be a traditional Chinese father and try to build something that's more relational. And that actually gave me trust for him after a few years, you know. After a few years, it gave me some trust for him. And as the world outside me got more dangerous, right, my household became more safe. So I would even start having gang meetings inside my house, you know. And my parents were right there, you know.
Jeez.
They should you hear their side of the story. They have a crazy side of the story too, you know.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
So,
and
I'll go ahead.
yeah, so like, and at that point, I really thought, wow, you know, I never thought my dad would ever change. I never thought he was the hardest man I knew. So I thought, man, maybe God is real, you know. Maybe there is a God in heaven or something like that. Even though I was very aware of the spiritual atmosphere, because you know the Chinese tribes, they have their own temples dedicated to the group. You know, they have their own temples that are funded by the Triad. You know, monks are Triad members, and they practice a heavy type of witchcraft. You know, we don't call it witchcraft in Asia, but a type of Thai Buddhism that they have it over in Malaysia too, where they put spells on themselves, and they worship certain gods that are made for war. They're war gods, you know, and they'll tattoo them on their body. They'll wear certain emblems. We call them samples, you know, and they do rituals where they welcome spirits to possess them, and when they fight, right, they almost emulate the character of the fighting gods. It's you know, in Western society we talk about, they think, you know, we're kind of crazy, but over there it's absolutely real. It's absolutely real, you know. And so I was very aware of, okay, there's a spiritual realm going on, but I never wanted to get too involved in that. I just knew that there was a reality of a God somewhere, you know. And I did believe in God. I did believe in God, but I wasn't walking with him, you know. And when I was 16 years old, my mom got a word from the Lord, you know. And she's, like I said, she's a Christian, and she heard that God said Choby's gonna die, he's gonna get killed. So she's so convinced of this, she gets a plane ticket and tells the whole family, we all have to leave to the States. And I had no idea what was going on. I just thought we were going to America for a little bit. And at that point, you know, at 16, I was ready. Like I said, I already was a branch leader. It was my goal to be a branch leader. And I had the name, I had the respect of my elders. I had a strong group under me, you know, and I thought, man, like why do I have my dream, but there's something missing in my life. It wasn't like, man, you're missing the girls. It wasn't like you're missing the power. It's not like you're missing, you know, immunity, bro. I'm talking about, like, you know, my leader, you know, they have such high connections with higher ups, bro. You're getting out of crime. Do you know what I'm saying?
A lot of payoffs.
Yeah, I never been arrested before. And
Yeah.
most of my friends that have been arrested, you know, they're walking in, they're walking right back out. You know, it's like that kind of stuff. So you feel this level of like, I can do what I want, but why? When I finally have it, there's something in my life that I just can't pin it. I'm missing something, man. So when my mom said, let's go to America, I thought, man, let's give the US a try here. You know, we're like a new beginning or something, or explore what's out there. So we come back to the States, right? But before I leave, I'm at the airport, and there's like 35 of my guys that are there, and they're all saying goodbye to me. So I'm saying goodbye one by one, right? And one of my friends who I grew up with, dude, you know, he wasn't a Triad member. He was this Christian guy, but he never got involved, and he never judged me, you know. So I kind of respected, because I always hated the Christians that would talk about Jesus and all that. I was like, man, that bothers me. But he handed me a Bible at the airport, this little Bible, and I looked at it, and I remember putting it in my pocket. I thought, man, I'm taking this because I respect this guy, you know.
Right.
He's a friend of mine. I'm gonna take this. So I get to America, and I'm here for like, I'm in Pittsburgh, you know, and I'm here for like maybe like a year. And in that year, I already was flying back and forth to Malaysia. My right hand man was still taking care of the organization back in Malaysia. And I thought I'm gonna give it like just a little bit of time, and I'm gonna move back. And I had a girlfriend back there in my city in Malaysia, and something was telling me that she's cheating on me, you know. So I called my leader and I said to him, I need to find out if this girl's cheating on me. And the next day he calls me and he says, hey Choby, we looked around and we saw her at this club, blah blah blah, and we know this guy. This is who it is, and we all knew that guy. And this guy, the last time I met him, I fought him at our territory 1-on-1.
Hmm.
I dropped him 2 times, you know. So I don't know if he was going after my girl because it was a revenge thing, or what, or why he was doing it. But in the codes that we share commonly, there's common codes that we share in the triads, right? In the law, we call it the laws. One of the laws that we have, you can never take a tribe member's girl, not a wife, not a girlfriend. You know, in fact, most tribes don't allow girls to get involved. Period, because of the problems it can bring. You know. So because of that, revenge for me was always like, you always gotta follow up with revenge, right? You gotta if something happens, you gotta claim whatever you gotta claim back. So I called her up and I said, listen, I found out what's going on. I'm buying a plane ticket. I'm coming to go back there, and tell that guy when I see him, I got a present waiting for him. And I was planning to go take this guy out. So I bought a plane ticket, and I remember I was leaving my house in Pittsburgh, right? And my mom is standing at the door, and she's crying, bro, like hysterically, you know. And she's trying to keep herself together. I'm like, man, what's going on? I can see the tears rolling down, and she hugs me and she says to me, son, there's something I want to tell you. And here she is. She's convinced in her mind that God spoke to her. That's why they moved the whole family to get out. But I didn't know any of this. She said, I prayed a prayer that I never prayed before in my life. She said, I prayed to the Lord that God will do whatever it takes to bring you towards him. And when she said that, dude, I felt like, dude, something's gonna happen. I could just feel it. It was an instinct that I had that said, dude, I think maybe something's gonna happen when I go over there now. Because here I am planning to take this guy out too. So I get on the airplane in the Pittsburgh airport, and I brought that little New Testament Bible that I had with me that my friend gave me, you know. And I can't read, you know what I mean, Adrian? Like, I've never read a book before because I'm dyslexic. But here I'm boiling with anger to take this guy out. I'm so upset, dude. And all I could think about is I gotta take him out, because if I don't take him out, I won't feel relieved. Like I gotta get him so I can just finally just rest. That was my mentality.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's pretty angry and hateful, man, because I mean, yeah, that was the mindset you were in at that time, and we went on to change, but you know, we're getting to that.
Yeah.
So what happened on this
Yeah.
plane
So
ride?
on this plan, or open this New Testament Bible. I'm flipping through the pages, and I'm looking at this Bible, bro, and I see this sentence pop out, and I've never read a book before, right? I mean, I got old report cards, bro, and things about me when I was in middle school. Man, I was done for. I saw this sentence pop out in the Bible, and I read, "In 3 days, I will heal you." And and right now I'm kind of in shock when I'm looking at this, and almost bewilderment, because I've never seen this before. And I thought that I have to be seeing a miracle right now. That's the only thing I can think about. I close it and I say, God, if this is you speaking to me, I give you 3 days And if I'm still angry after that, I'm going for this guy. So I get to Malaysia and the plane lands and my guys are waiting there. And I tell them, listen, I need 3 days. 2 days go by and this anger is still boiling, right? I can't get this guy off of my mind. Like I'm obsessed about taking him out,
Mm-hmm.
On the third day, when I woke up in my room in Malaysia, the moment I open my eyes, I can feel this peace over me. I'm talking, it was a tangible peace, almost like a rushing water. And I thought, dude, I don't feel angry. How? And it was so abnormal for me because all I knew was anger, and all I knew was revenge, and
Right.
I didn't understand what was happening, but I knew that something changed, and it was beyond me. It was beyond me, and I said, okay, maybe what I read was from God.
Right.
So I said, okay, I'm not gonna go attack this guy.
What'd you end up doing then?
So I still was in Malaysia for like another month,
You stayed for
And
another month.
yeah, I was still there because my ticket was I didn't buy the ticket. My round trip ticket was later.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was still staying there. So I went to a club with my friends, and we're partying in this club. We got bottles, we got bottle service, and it was me and two guys. And then before the nightclub closes, one of my friends comes and says, "Hey, Choby, our rivals are here in the club." And I said, "Listen, man, we just, we spent this money, all these bottles. Let's just drink, we party, and excuse me, and I don't want to fight tonight, because it gets to a point that you fight so much in your life, you don't. It gets to a point you get really tired of it.
I would imagine, man.
Yeah, I got to a point that I was getting so tired of fighting because every time you always got to be, always got these issues. So I said, let's not fight. So anyways, the club closed and we went down the street to eat. And in Asia, you can always find places to eat outside. You know what I'm saying? Local food and all that. So
Yeah.
we get to this spot and we order some food. And this car pulls up and those rivals were in there and they came next to our table and they sat down. So we just started fighting right away. I just said, man, fine, this is, I try to make it. I didn't want to fight, but here we're going to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
At least you made it to the end of the night.
yeah, made it to the end of the night. Yeah, made it of the night, exactly. Small win.
Yeah.
So, we get done fighting, and one of the guy gets torn up, pretty bad, his face. Then the next day, I get a phone call, and my right hand man calls me, and he says, "Choby, I'm at Gurney Plaza, and this place was a place that me and a couple of guys we were instructed to take over this place years ago. It was a new development, and it was a time that we had to take over, and it was kind of up for grabs for the gangs to come in, and so we fought for that territory. So we made it ours, and so my right hand man was always there. So he calls me and says, "Choby, the guys you fought the night before, they're here looking for you." So I call my leader to come, and my leader's on the way. He gets to this shopping plaza before me, and he's like on the 7th or 8th floor, and there's a billiard like a pool center up there. And he says, "Choby, when you get here, tell everyone to come to the pool center. We're gonna assemble. You're gonna tell me what happened, and then I'm gonna go find that leader." So I'm at the first floor, and all the guys are up there waiting. And I'm with the two guys I was with the night before, and we're trying to get our story straight. Cause I know I'm talking to the boss. We gotta make sure everything's on the same page here,
Yeah. Sure. Big
and
deal.
exactly. So I see guys behind me waiting for the elevator, and I don't know who these guys are. And it's a shopping mall, so a lot of people too. But I see guys waiting, and I push this elevator button, and this elevator starts coming down. I don't know where that rival gang is at, right? And I'm thinking to myself, do I gotta go get the weapons? Because we used to keep meat cleavers there in the shop. We would stash the machetes because a lot of times we fight machetes and meat cleavers and stuff. We would we had places that we stashed them right outside the mall. There's like a garden area. So I'm thinking, we gotta grab those, or what we gotta do right now? But my first priority is meeting the boss because he said come up, and then he's gonna take it from there. So all of a sudden, going through my mind when I see the elevator start coming down. The elevator opens up right in front of me. I see the rivals. So here I am, face to face with the rivals, man. I mean, I was just like caught, and then I see these guys talking to the. They start walking out. They start talking to guys behind me, and I just can tell by their body language that these were the guys here. And the last guy that walks out was the guy that we really messed up. And he turns and sees us as we're walking into the. So they're walking out. We walk into the elevator. They start turning around, start shouting in Chinese. I'm thinking, man, we're outnumbered. We're probably gonna fight right inside here. But I'm like, we're in this like steel box, like in this elevator. Like we're just gonna, we're just gonna try to hammer it out and try to see what happens from here.
Oh my God, that'd be
I know,
terrible.
man. So in the middle of this, man, I can feel something happening. I feel this shifting, like I'm gonna die. I don't know why, bro, but I felt that right now. I had I felt the spirit of death come, and I was thinking, dude, I'm gonna die right now. And I started to like panic, dude. And I've been in situations like this all the time, outnumbered, beat, completely outnumbered, completely beat up by weapons and everything. But here I am, like, for some reason, I'm thinking death is gonna come. And I just think if I die, I'm not afraid to die, but I'm afraid what's gonna happen after I die.
Like what?
Like going to hell.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like I don't know, because I don't know God, I don't know nothing.
Right.
And I know that I'm evil. So all of a sudden, this guy starts speaking in the middle of the crowd, and everyone keeps quiet. So I know he's the leader, and he walks up, and this guy, you see his eyes, man, he's ready, and he's saying, "Oh, you fought for guys last night. We're coming here to settle things right now." And first he's trying to say, "Come with us right now. We're going to the parking lot," but we don't want to move out of the elevator. So first he's trying to kind of kidnap us, And we're staying back. We're saying we're not going anywhere. Let's discuss whatever. But this guy says, "Okay, you don't want to come right now. Then we're going to handle it right now." And he takes out a machete from his pants. He pulls things out. He's saying, "Okay, right now we're going to handle this." And dude, this guy's about to start swinging this machete, man. And I'm thinking about that death I'm feeling. And now this guy with the machete, and I'm thinking, man, there's no way we're going to escape. There's no way we can escape this. And I was so scared to die because I thought, dude, I know what I've done in my life. And I thought, man, it's almost like blood for blood. You know it's going to come one day, and this is your day. And I thought, man, I don't know what I'm going to do if I see God. I was so afraid to see God. But something came to my mind that my mother told me when I was very young. She said, "Son, if you ever get into a problem, you call on Jesus." And here I was, man. I was very young, but even now people know my name back in my city. It was all about my name, all about the Triad, the well-being of our gang, all this, what we can do, how powerful we are. But you know what? At that moment, I knew that could not get me out of what I was in right now. So I remember my mom said, I said, "Jesus, please save me." That's all I could say. And with that guy with the machete, his hand in the air, I see from the crowd a hand hold him back,
Damn.
right when I prayed. And I look and I see that my friend was looking for us, and he actually knew that leader. He held him right back and said, "Hey, these are my guys." And dude, it was just like that. If right at the brink of death, I saw when I called on a name, I saw this miracle happen, and we were able to escape. And I thought, man, I knew I deserved I knew I deserved death. The thing is, I knew that I wasn't paid back for what I was meant to be. Like I was supposed to, it's always an eye for an eye or tooth for a tooth.
Mm-hmm.
So the
That's
net, yeah, man, it was so nuts, bro.
yeah, that is, man. I mean, that's the second time within this whole trip. So,
Yeah,
and I believe there's another one that we're
yeah,
gonna
exactly.
get
So
into.
the next day, I go to a club, right, and they're passing out pills. I'm taking these pills, and I love to pop pills, man, back then.
What
And
kind were they?
supposed to be X,
Oh, okay.
supposed to be X, but they don't mix all kind of stuff together.
Jeez.
And I'm overdosing, and my friends are helping me outside this club, and I'm feeling my body go lifeless, you know, and I'm just thinking about the day before, and again I'm thinking, if I would die today, and I'm dying right now, man, I don't know God. So again, I just said the same thing as the day before. Jesus saved me, and just like that, I sobered up. My life, I felt my soul came back in my body. I felt nothing. I felt completely sober, from overdose to completely sober. And I get up, and my friends are like, "Hey, are you okay?" I said, "I pray to Jesus."
Oh man, what did they say to that?
Man, they started laughing. They said, "Choby, you're high, this and that." But in my heart, I knew what happened. I started to realize this power in God. And then the third day, my friend, my right hand man, he was coming to pick me up in his car. Right? He comes, he picks me up, and before I enter the car, I hear this voice, and his voice said, "Put your seatbelt on." And I knew I heard this thing, so I go in the car, and I put my seatbelt on, and my friend looks at me. My right hand man says, "He's Choby." He says, "You don't trust my driving?" I said, "I do." I said, "You better put your belt on too." He puts his seatbelt on, and we would never wear seatbelts over there because he knew I would never wear my seatbelt. So that's why he's asking me, "Why am I doing that?"
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah. So he was kind of confused, but he put his seatbelt on too, and we went down the road, and he was flying down this road. It must have been like 10, 11 at night. He's flying down this road, man. And this car breaks all of a sudden in front of him, and he starts and the car starts to fishtail, and it starts losing control. And I could hear the rubber and the road, that sound, that loud sound. And my friends going trying to get the will together, and I remember thinking to myself, man, from that point onwards, it was like slow motion. I felt this bump, and I can feel this suspense like in midair. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, anything we hit, the moment he fishtailed, I thought, no matter what we hit, that impact, we're dead. And literally, man, my life like flashed before my eyes. From 11 years old, from getting involved in the gangs, from being a branch leader, to the evil. I was so, it was so evident at that moment that my life, I knew one thing, man. I knew that my life was an evil one. And again, I thought, man, about this whole God situation. And I thought, I'm gonna see him, and I know I'm going to hell. You know, I feel this bump, bro, and this suspense in midair, and I could feel like my stomach coming up here. And I just heard this massive crash. I open my eyes up, and there's leaves everywhere. And I look at my right, because in Asia they drive on the right side. It's a different, they drive on the opposite side there. And my friend, he's leaned over like this, and he puts his head back and starts to go through the seizure. His eyes are rolled back, and blood just starts gushing out of his head. And I'm so concerned for him because he's a good friend of mine. He's my right hand man, but he came with me as a young kid. I was training him, and I loved him so much. I thought, man, he's dying right in front of me. So I open the car door, and I fall on the floor. And I don't know why I fall, and I'm kind of confused because I'm on this ground now. And I get off the ground, and I'm so stunned. All the adrenaline, I'm really dizzy. And I look at the car, and this car, when it fishtailed, it jumped off the sidewalk. And when it jumped off the sidewalk, it suspended in air, and there was a tree with two massive branches, and the car landed in between these two branches.
In a tree, man.
In a tree. Yeah, in a
Jeez.
tree.
And you
And
just fell.
it was almost like God took that car and snuck it in there, because if we would have went to the right or the left a little bit, that impact of the car would have demolished us. It would have creamed us. But it was like snug. And the front of the car hit this village house roof, and this pole, it came through. Actually, when I first woke up, my head was leaned to the sideways. It was sideways like that. And this pole was through the window, almost took my head off. Like, the whole situation, I should not have walked out of there alive. These people who lived in that village came out, they took out my friend, and then he's on my lap, and he's just going in and out of consciousness. And I'm slapping him, trying to keep him awake, you know. I'm telling you, you gotta stay awake, and his blood's going all over me. And I remember thought to myself, man, at that moment I knew I was convinced that the reason why I was breathing was because of the miracle of God. There's no other way. So I started praying for my friend, you know. We get to the hospital, and in the hospital, I'm looking back at my life. I'm looking back at what I saw in the airplane, the miracle of feeling peace, the miracle of calling on Jesus with the machete, the drug overdose, and now this car accident. And I said, I know that someone's looking out for me. I knew God was looking out for me. So in the hospital bed, I said, God, I give you my life, and I don't know how to be a Christian. I don't know how to live for you. I can't even read. I don't know. All I know is that I see that I'm saved by God.
He made that very, very, very clear.
He made it very, very, very clear.
After all those incidents, man.
Exactly. So there I am, laying in the hospital bed, and I said, Jesus, I want you to be my Thilo. I mean, I want you to be my leader, you know. Because I didn't really know how to pray. So, but when I said that, for the first time in my life, I felt that hunger I was looking for everywhere in the world. Now it was gone now. And I remember leaving the hospital, and I just started thinking, wow, I found God. And I was looking in all these other places in my life. I never found peace. I never found satisfaction, but something inside my being, it's hard to explain in human words, but I knew I met the living God. So I get back to America, okay, and I can't read, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all I know is that God saved my life, and I want to know about Him, because I realize that, man, maybe the way I've been living is wrong. So I come in my room, I take that Bible, right? Here I'm dyslexic, but I remember getting on my knees and say, God, if you can do all the miracles you did in my life, I know that you can work outside of the normal things of the world, you know. I need you to help me to read. And I opened that Bible up, and little by little, the words started to make sense. You know, here I was, man, I was 17. And all my life before that, I was in special, and they could not get me to, I could not do it. But the word of God says is living and active, you know? So like, I opened it up and I started to read the Bible. So my first 6 months, I read the New Testament Bible 7 times. That's all I started doing. And I could feel like God healing me. And I started reading. So the first book I ever read was the Bible. And even that was a miracle, from being dyslexic to being able to read. So now I'm really seeing God again doing the miraculous. And then in my 6 months, as I'm looking at my life, I'm going through like this personal inventory of how I've been living, you know.
Mm-hmm.
God says to me, I want you to go back to Malaysia, and I want you to go quick. So it took me like 2 weeks to pray because I thought, man, there's no way I'm gonna go back and quit. Because here I was, if people break the rules in my group, I gotta discipline them. But and now I gotta go quit. Like, how's that gonna look?
Right.
So I'm facing all this fear, and but I just thought to myself, you know what? That if I know God saved my life, and I owe everything to Him, and if He wants me to quit, then I'm gonna go do it. So I bought a plane ticket, and I went back to Malaysia, and I met with my Thai Lo, and we went out to eat, and it was him and two other guys. So we went to eat, and I had a very good relationship with my boss, and even to this day, I thank God that we're still in good terms. But after we ate, he was dropping me off where I was staying, and in the Chinese triad, when you quit, you have to give a envelope, and it's called an ang pao. And in the ang pao, you got to put a certain level of money inside there that represents a triad number. So when he was dropping me off, I said, "Hey, I need you to come out of the car. There's something I got to give to you." So he comes out of the car, and I just said to him, I want to thank you for everything you've done for me. Because the truth is, he did a lot for me. And he was also a caring leader. He was actually a caring leader, And but I said, I met God, and He changed my life. He saved me when no one else could save me. And so I got on my knees. And you have to get on your knees. You got to bow down, and you have to give the red envelope with two hands like that, So I got on my knees, and I gave him his envelope. I said to him, I want to quit. And at that moment, I tell you, I was afraid, man. I was very nervous up in that moment.
What do they deny people sometimes?
They get denied people sometimes, yeah.
What's the
Yeah.
consequence for, when they deny them? What do they do?
It depends. It depends,
Oh, okay.
It depends, yeah. It depends. Some are able to come out. Some they leave the country completely. I know guys who are friends today still that they've left the country completely because they cannot, they're in too deep, they cannot come out.
Wow. So yeah, I see why you'd be scared and nervous.
Exactly.
So what happened when you were
So,
doing this?
so when I got on my knees, I really did feel peace though, And then he picked me up and he said to me, "Choby, why do you want to quit?" And I told him, I said, this is what God did for my life. I said, He asked me to come back here. I said, God told me to fly back to meet with you and to give you this. And I said, I must serve the Lord now, So he took that envelope and he took the money out and he said, "You will keep the money, Choby. I'll take the envelope." He said, "If you take the money and I take the envelope, then we're still brothers. But I will call the office and I'll take you out." So I took the money back. He took the envelope and he made a phone call. And he called the office and said, "Take Choby's file out. He's done. He quit." So he allowed me to formally quit. And I did tell my leader though. I said, "Listen, tomorrow I gotta meet with my sub branch, and I need to tell them also I'm done." And he also gave me permission to do that. He said, "Okay, do it." So the next day, I went to the territory that I was with, and I called a gang meeting. I told my right hand man, "You got to call everybody to come out here. No, everyone must make this meeting right now." So everybody came. They're sitting around, and I told them, I said, "Guys, I want to let you guys know something. First, I apologize for getting you guys involved, and I want you to know that I came back here for a specific reason. I came to meet with the big Thai Lo and let him know that I'm done with this way of life. There's something more for me here in life, and it's God." and I told them that I quit. And they were shocked. They didn't really know what the meeting was about. And here I am talking to them about Jesus. You know, they probably thought I went from one crazy to the next.
Oh yeah,
But
I'm sure.
yeah, and that was it. And then I quit.
Did any guys follow suit? Did they like, oh well, maybe if he's doing this, maybe I should. Did
Yeah,
you ever hear any of that?
yeah, many guys stayed in, and some guys also came out too, or they ended up being like more non-active as possible. Yeah,
Did were any of them upset with you?
not that they showed me, not that they showed me, and I don't think they would. They would, if they were, they wouldn't allow that to show. You know, yeah, because they already knew if the boss let him out, they can say nothing.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's not
yeah,
like
yeah,
the boss gave the okay. Then I mean, there's nothing they can do anyway.
yeah,
So
yeah.
just let it happen. I mean, you're on it
Exactly.
to going to down a better path, and I think maybe they understood that for the
Yeah,
most part.
yeah. And it was a key time. It was a key time that I did that because you know actually that same year and the next following years, things became quite bloody over there. And um and and also the group I was with became also very, very powerful. So I see how God's timing worked out. I think it helped eliminate a lot of the connection from the lower guys to the upper guy, because I was a main pipeline for them, you
Hmm.
know. So I see how it was really the good timing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I mean, if you would have stayed in a little bit longer, you could have got deeper. You could have got killed. I mean, could have a lot of bad things could happen. But I mean,
yeah,
with the perfect timing, I
that's
think it
right.
was probably
Yeah,
probably a good time to get out of
yeah. It
there.
was it was it was a, it was a good time. So I look at how God's timing works. It was great. And I
Yeah.
see, and that was, and since that time, you know, I ended up getting my GED, ended up going to college, got a degree in graphic design and animation. I had different businesses, and this is all because of God's redemption, right? I didn't deserve it. I mean, psychologically speaking, I wasn't qualified. It was all the miracle of God, how He encountered me, and and the power in calling on His name. So I look at my life right now, man, and He has restored so much, you know, so much. And I'm able to, even the PTSD part. There was times that I could not, so many years, man, I couldn't sleep because of just the things that you've been involved in, right? It haunts you, but God's able to give me peaceful sleep. And now I take this story, it's like 17 years later, and I still share, I still love on those guys. A lot of those guys there, they're still in it, and there are guys I grew up with, and they know that I share about it. Um, and There's hope for the ones that are the most hopeless. I'm convinced of that, and it's by Jesus Christ.
No, you're absolutely right, man. And like a follow up question too is, what I want to add in is that what do you hope to do with by telling your story? I mean, what kind of impact do you
Yeah.
want to have on people?
So I know that my place was where we're supposed to be, was supposed to be 6 feet under. I know that what my mom heard, she heard correctly. I know that I was supposed to be murdered. So I know that every day of my life right now is a gift from God. I look at my life and I know that I was so broken, so lost, I didn't have a purpose, right? I was the most unqualified person to do anything. So my hope and my purpose right now is to share with everybody that there is a hope and there is a purpose, and there is a plan that God has. and that's in him. And there's nothing too difficult for God to do in somebody's life.
I agree.
So it's to share the hope of Jesus, man. That's what I've given my life to do now.
What would you tell your younger self if you with all this knowledge you have now?
Man, call on Jesus way earlier.
Yeah, before it's gets too deep.
before it gets too deep.
Yeah, I think that with your story, man, it's incredible because for you to overcome being in, a gang, having disabilities, learning disabilities that is, and to be able to go and get your GED, go to college, and be a part of a couple different businesses, like you said, is amazing, man. I mean, it really goes to shows because I mean, you're not supposed to be here. You shouldn't be here to telling your story, but obviously God had, a bigger purpose for you, wanted you to be around and share your story because it's truly amazing. And it goes without saying, it's motivation. It's inspiring for anybody that's deeply involved in organized crime, gangs, whatever it may be that they are involved with. Like, there's a way to get out, man, because
there is.
There really is, man, and that's why I love doing these kind of interviews with, especially like people like you, man, because you got a really good redemption story, man. So I appreciate you coming on. And do you have anything else you want to add in before we wrap up here?
Yeah, no, just thank you, man. Thank you for what you're doing. And the truth is life is short. Life goes by very quickly. And what we do right now, it counts. Yeah, man. So I'll just say, thank you for your time and everyone who's watching. Much appreciation, much love to you guys, and hope that you will also find the hope in the Lord, as your Savior and all those who are in places that are, you guys come into life circumstances that you may feel like, man, you know what? Like Choby, he was completely cornered in his life, right? But God is able to reach out in your life and to rescue you. And God says, all who call upon the name of the Lord will be saved. So just call on Jesus, man. You might not know how to pray or nothing like me. Just call on him. Yeah.
That's true. Well, with that, we'll close out. Thank you everyone for watching.
All right, man. Take care.
Choby has got one incredible redemption story. He made a smart choice to lead the gangster life before going to prison. He is now spreading the word of God for everyone to learn. Please comment any key takeaways that you got from this interview. Please share it with anyone that you think will enjoy this type of content. Also, please be sure to subscribe to my channel for more interviews like this. At the end of this video, a playlist will pop up of all my other interviews I've done in the past. The name of the playlist is the Invest in Yourself podcast. Thank you again so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.